Like we talked about, we're going to jump right into because we are jam-packed today. But finding hot buyers, how are we getting more conversion in everything that we're doing? You guys would give us just a quick who you are and where you're from, and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah, Justin Borges from Los Angeles, operate a team of 17.
Hey, Matt Kimes, Charleston, South Carolina, small fish, big pond.
Ryan Steele, Northwest Indiana, right across from Chicago.
Deborah Bly in League City, which is right in between Houston and Galveston. A team of about 24.
Matt Curtis of Huntsville, Alabama. We're the #1 team in Alabama.
All right.
Nice. All right, guys, we're gonna get some nuggets here. So I'm gonna jump right in with Justin. We chatted with everybody prior. You had a post recently in YSC, started getting a ton of activity. What you guys are doing, and I don't have the clicker. Do you? I'd love for you to kind of share that story. And I know we've got a couple screenshots of the process and how it went through. So I'd love for you to kind of just share that with us.
Absolutely. So we had a lead. I don't know if everyone has this, but we have a lost opportunities pond. When someone purchases a property, they're no longer on our radar, we'll just throw them in this pond. So we teach the agents, as you can see here on the screenshot, she purchased a home May 15, 23. Our agent called, she's off our radar.
So, just to be clear, when you say missed opportunity, so she purchased not with you guys,
Not
somebody
with
else.
us, not
Anybody
with us.
had one that said they bought with somebody else before? Can we relate?
Yep.
Never happens? All right.
Yep.
Make sure. All right.
All right, so continuing, next slide. 226 days after she purchased, she came back to our website. And so when we onboard our agents, we teach them, hey, this is a big call this person moment. And so our agent, who we just had onboarded about 4 months earlier, gave her a call, and you can see here that she said, we have plans to make a purchase. She bought a house, she hated it. She moved into it, she absolutely hated it, wanted to make a change. So our agent here, you can see December 5th, the last slide was May 2023, and she wants to move into a place up to 1.8 million. So fast forward, our agent booked a showing, went out to this property in Montrose, put it under contract, $1.3 million, buy side. Then we find out she needs to sell.
The house she hates.
The house she hates, she's got to sell it. And so our agent managed to double end that. So over 88,000 in GCI from a lost opportunity.
So lost opportunity. So and let's be right. Yeah. Hell yeah. So to ask everybody, we've all done this. Oh, we get them on the phone, right? And they're like, oh, we already bought. Do we have opportunity here that some of us maybe are not taking advantage of? Yeah. Right. So I love the back to side or renewed interest, and that's what you guys are hitting. So you said you dumped it into, I'm going to back up a little bit, into a certain pond, and maybe explain that real quick, just what you guys are doing with that.
Yeah, so we put it into a lost opportunity pond. We don't take it off the radar completely. We teach our agents when they're calling the ponds to view all ponds so that instead of caring about where the activity is coming from, just call off of the activity, and that's what she did. So she didn't even know that she had purchased when she called her.
So when you're saying view all ponds, because you've got your smart list, I'm just making an assumption here. So you got your smart list set up. You're like, it doesn't matter where they're coming from or what pond they're in because they meet the criteria of the list. Call this.
Exactly.
I love
Well,
it.
and the other thing I heard in there is work the activity. Use the data, work the activity. It's not about what they were staged at or that they already bought or what pond they're in. They came back on the radar because they were active on the website. So make sure you're using that recently active list.
I love that. All right. I'm going to go down the line here a little bit. Would you want
Yeah, so we're going to jump to Matt Kimes next. So,
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Matt, you're crushing it with rAIya Voice. Tell us about that process, what you're doing, where's the mindset behind that, and just kind of how that's working for you.
Sure. So, one is I got to start with, we're killing it with rAIya Voice because we had no other option. So I have a little experience with, in-house ISA models, third-party ISA models, call the damn lead model, right? And the reality is, I think we heard the metrics earlier, but the leads just aren't getting called, right? So it was a kind of a face reality moment and saying, hey, we're not doing such a good job here. What can we do? rAIya Voice comes along. rAIya Voice comes along, and I'll kind of give a couple of wins real quick, but rAIya Voice comes along. We start getting familiar with the tool. Miss Tracy comes in. Miss Tracy comes in. Matter of fact, it was a live transfer that we missed. We miss half of all the live transfers, which to me is okay because it means hopefully we're doing some other income producing activities. But we ended up hooking up back up with Tracy. Tracy needed to buy a house and was frustrated that she wasn't getting results from some other people. There you go. So that's a win, right? We closed Tracy. I'll give you another one is, let's see, Mr. D'Angelo. Mr. D'Angelo comes in with a callback schedule, right? So he gave us some indication that he wanted to talk to us and he needed some help. And sure enough, through the use of the tools, we got back in touch with D'Angelo and found out that he had actually just been denied by another lender because he wasn't pristine, crystal clear, right? 30 days later, he's under contract and making a move on a house. And that's just a couple of the wins that come. Let me say this. Just from kind of sitting back and letting the tool run and then picking up on the indications of what it's putting out.
Now, sorry.
Go ahead, go.
How are you working with your agents? Are your agents working alongside rAIya calling leads? How do they know that they need to follow up or what's going on there?
Yeah, so the mindset we have is there will never be a replacement for an agent talking on the phone.
Yes.
Right? There will never be a replacement for that. Our mindset with rAIya is more that what rAIya is doing is filtering through incoming leads, right? Prospecting for us. That's what it's doing. And then giving us back an indication about these clients, right? And we can run down the numbers, but we're seeing, and Gene knows the numbers off the top of his head. I know my database numbers, but it's 20% or more of the incoming leads are giving us a positive indication that they want to speak to an agent.
Now, what is that positive indication? Give me that detail.
Yeah, that's where those tags come into play, right? So the tags come into play and it's going to say, hey, ISA transfer or the transfer successful. And I think that's the one everybody wants to see the most.
Yeah.
But truthfully, it's not even the most important. You know, transfer successful, unsuccessful, callback scheduled, right? Or a nurture, right? And so what does that mean? What does it really mean? Let's think about the mindset. These folks have had a conversation with rAIya. They gave an indication that didn't say, hey, I'm not buying a house, or this is the wrong number, or don't ever call me again. They gave a positive indication that it's okay to talk about a house. That's our mindset. That's somebody to go after.
Yeah, I think when I was reviewing the notes, and I wasn't on the initial call, but the mindset came in that you're allowing rAIya to identify real people, whether it's the real people transferring now, but now they're at least focused just on the real people. They don't have to comb through the other 80% or 75%. It's that 20%, that 25%, and that's where they're focused, spending their time to convert.
That's right. And I'll be quick. I'll go into kind of a next phase mindset on it. Not only is it identifying 20% of people that say, hey, some positive indication, I want to talk to somebody about buying a house. And the mindset on those folks are actually saying, hey, I need help, right? Love that. Love people saying, hey, I need help. There's also another 20% that say, I know what I'm doing. Don't call me anymore. I don't need any help. Beautiful. That's more data for me to say that's the kind of person that needs to see homes, right? They need a different touch and a different approach until they need some help.
Just giving you an opportunity to segment that database
That's
and
right.
work it appropriately based off of where they're at. Just another filter.
That's right. And last numbers, you ready? 1.5%. We think that there's a 1.5% straight conversion rate, just easy to reach with rAIya Voice. Just 1.5% straight off of it.
Love it. I love it. I love
That's
it.
awesome.
All right, I'm going to jump down to Deb real quick, and then we're going to open it up to have you guys can come back and ask a couple of questions. So, Deb, when we were chatting, something that I love that you have implemented and learned over time is kind of a right to have the leads, a tiered system on how you're bringing in, because I think you mentioned 20-some agents and stuff. I'd love for you to share a little bit about this process, this tiered system that you're doing to get people into lead rotation or how they're getting their leads.
Yeah, so aside from, of course, following up, and there's a lot of work in progress there for us, but initially when we were doing Zillow, and we're still doing Zillow, we're not Zillow Flex, we were actually paying for those leads. And when an agent came on our team, you know, they would be up on lead rotation just like every other agent on our team. And we were honestly losing our butts on that because we had agents that did really great jobs at converting Zillow. And so they were super, super busy. So when that Zillow lead came in and it was, you know, the first to click or the first to claim, you know, the new agents were picking that up because the busy agents were busy. So we had a lot of leads going to agencies that honestly were not in a position or hadn't had the training to be able to convert those leads. So we came up on our team with a tier system. And when we interview a new agent on our team, we let them know right up front. Of course, everybody likes to join the team because they're going to get leads. And we let them know right up front there's going to be activities that they need to finish in order to earn the opportunity and the right to be on that lead rotation. And then we have our tiers set up, and we have a tier 0, which means when you first come on, you don't get leads. We have a tier 1, which means you've had at least between 1 and 3 closed and pending in the last 90 days. We have a tier 2. They get more lead opportunities than tier 1, and they have between 4 and 8 closings in the last 90 days. And then our tier 3 agents have had 9+ closed and pendings in the last 90 days. So every month when we put the lead rotation calendar out, your opportunities, you get more opportunities and more leads that you're closing. So our tier...
I want to break that part down just a little bit because I think that's really important. So you've got these set tiers, and I'll back up to the other slide here in a second for you guys. So you have these tiers, so they're earning their spot, it sounds like, based on their tiers. And then to get their leads based on their tier, you do a monthly calendar, and then based on their tiers, they get to pick their spots, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the lead rotation calendar goes out every month, and we start with the person that did the most volume, and then from there it trickles on down. Our tier 3 agents are going to get the most lead opportunities on the calendar, and we have our shifts broken down in 3-hour shifts from, starting at 8 in the morning. So there's 4 shifts a day, one being the 8 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the morning shift. And that's where we we put a lot of our new agents into that shift. It gives them the opportunity to just kind of work through the system with the leads that came in overnight. And then they can also sit down with our ISA and kind of work that together with the ISA.
There are 2 things when we were talking that I really, well, there were more than 2 things, but there are 2 that I want to call out right now that I appreciate about this system. One is that it's completely transparent, that there's the list. This is what you get, and this is what you have to do. Here's the rules, and then you're there, right? Totally transparent of what the expectations are. And the second thing is that you review it every 90 days. So just because you're in tier 3 doesn't mean you get to stay in tier 3.
Yeah.
You have to continue to perform. It's not just a earn spot once.
Right.
So how has that been for the culture of your team? Does that continue to motivate the agents?
I think it continues to motivate the agents. The other thing I do with the tier 3 agents, they are my special agents, so to speak, right? And they would be everybody's special agents. But we also meet, like tomorrow is our tier 3 meeting. So we also meet monthly, just me and the tier 3 agents. And when I have, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to roll out? They're kind of like my advisory board,
okay,
right? So they have some buy-in to what's going, and I'm very transparent with everything with them, but I also get great feedback from them. And if you go to your team and you ask, hey, we have this, how should we do that? The answer that you're going to get from the agents that aren't doing any transactions are a whole lot different than the answers you're going to get from your, agents that are very busy. So it's also a good sounding board for me.
That's awesome.
And what I like about this too, and I got that extra slide for you guys, was so when you have your newer agents and the expectations of what they need to do, I think you said you just have ponds, and maybe it's similar like missed opportunity ponds or wherever. It sounds like this is where the newer agents are going, so they're cutting their teeth on that before they're getting into like their right place.
Or they get leases, which honestly, my tier 3 agents, they rarely do leases now, but I also really wouldn't want them doing leases. So leases is a good opportunity for new agents to come on and just show that they can get something on paper. And I think if you go to another slide, it'll show the one where what they need to do in order, so to be eligible to even get on lead rotation, aside from having a lease done, they also have these things that they need to complete. They need to attend the in-house contract class, so we have once a month. They have to be able to write a contract, and they get sent out, So, like your basic stuff, right?
This is all set up front for them so that they know what they're getting into.
Clear expectations.
Yeah, and honestly, on that first slide, when an agent comes in, they probably spend their first 2 weeks just in Teachable, learning about how to be a real estate agent.
Right. That's awesome. All right, Ryan, let's chat with you for a minute. So there's a theme on this panel, actually. There was a post in the success community, and then we called. So that's kind of what happened with Ryan as well. Ryan made a post in the success community talking about some success that he was having in re-engaging his database. I could relate with this story because, I think a lot of us probably can, where, been on Ylopo for 4 years and looking at the data, and if it wasn't low-hanging fruit, it just went to the CRM to sit and nothing happened with it, right? So the agents were picking the low-hanging fruit, but then not really doing a whole lot with it after that. And Ryan, you discovered that and then made some changes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Oh, this thing's on.
It is. Sorry about that.
What's that? I can't hear you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. The thing that I was noticing is that if leads don't convert right away, the agents sort of forget about it. And going back to what Deb said, the agents will claim the first to claim, and that's money that the team leads, the broker owners have spent on leads that are just sitting there. And so I had to start creating smart lists for me to monitor the agents.
So kind of those lead
Right.
management lists.
So you have your
Yeah.
smart list for you to work your own stuff, but you have to watch them. And so one of the fields in Follow Up Boss is last action plan sent email. And all I did was say, any leads that have a last action plan sent email of more than 45 days, I'm yanking and putting into a pond so that I can actually go through. And sadly, it took me 4 years to figure this out. And there was over 3,000 leads that we had paid for that are sitting there that aren't being communicated with, anything. And so I did two things. I went through and put them all on action plans, and I doubled my remarketing budget. I was supposed to say, my CSA told me to say that. And that's why I was grabbing my phone a second ago. The remarketing budget, I'm not trying to sell anything here, guys, but year over year from April of 2023 to April of 2024, we had 87 revisits for the seller website content because of remarketing. This April, 523.
Wow.
All right. And as a success story, I'll be really quick. We had a gentleman that came to our website March 28th of 2020 and fell off the action plan. We put him back on the action plan so you can take your new agents and put them on these older leads. As Gabe said yesterday, 2/3 of people that were thinking of buying 23 waited until 24. A year-old lead is actually gold, right? Well, last week, he went under contract. 1,498 days after he came in as a lead.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
I want to pull something out though, and I want to say again, just to make sure, guys, there's something that you just shared that you guys should have written down, I think underlined, to identify these, because this is something I hear about on calls all the time. How am I figuring out who's slipping through the cracks if there's just no activity? But the filter that you're using, again, what is the filter you're using?
The one I used was the last action plan sent email.
Last marketing email.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think
Sent.
last marketing.
Yeah, so that tells you, because sometimes we just make assumptions. Oh, they're in the database, they're being worked. They're on a drip, they're on a, whatever they are. But those drips end unless you have a trigger that starts a new one, right? So that brings those all to the surface.
They end, another big one, guys, to look at that is they end or they can be stopped based on a reply or something
Exactly,
like that.
yes.
I think a big miss that we're making is those are not getting turned back on. So by that management smart list, I love it. If you're looking at that, it could be that it run its course. It could be just that they responded saying I'm out of town this weekend, or it could have been whatever it was, and if no contact was made, those stop.
Or it could be an out of office auto reply.
Yes, there's a lot of things that will kill those, and we're missing them. So we got to inspect what we're expecting for those action plans to be doing. Yeah, I love that.
That's
All right.
fantastic.
I'm just gonna turn it on. Number one, just what are you doing?
Yeah, so I was supposed to be on a panel yesterday.
Yeah.
So like a lot of y'all, I had a challenge. I've got a database of a lot of leads, whether you've been doing Ylopo for a year or I've been doing it with Tiger Leads and Howard Tager for the last 15 years, 1,000 leads or 100,000 leads. How do you do two things? Number one, how do you continue to be top of mind with those clients, with those leads? And then how do you bring the cream to the crop and kind of create hot leads for your agents to work? And so the way that we solved that challenge was we created an email marketing newsletter to our clients, and we send that out twice a week. One is, so if you ever heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, jab, right hook. So it's a lot of, give, a lot of education, a lot of information, and then you ask for the sell. And so each week we're giving out a lot of information about real estate, the market, and then we're also relating back to the consumer and what they're thinking. So we're doing an email based on what's in the news and turning that back around to the consumer and for a listing appointment, for a buyer consultation, et cetera. And so that's been extremely successful in creating both buyer and seller hot leads for us. And we were already doing the work of creating the videos, doing the education, posting them on YouTube. And so I was like, okay, so I'm now the expert of my database. Everybody knows who we are. They're going to use us when they get ready to buy or sell. How do I do that on a massive scale across the town? And so, not everybody's in our database. And so everything that we're doing on the video content, the email content level, how can we recycle that and use that in other places? So we started, doing a weekly call-in show on the marketplace for, the local talk show. We started writing in the local business journal about the same topics that we were doing on YouTube.
So I want to break that down a little bit. So there's 2 emails that go out to the database a week, and one thing is you're focusing on some kind of piece of news, right? So when I hear that, I think, oh my gosh, I've got to come up with content every week. Tell me about that. What's your process there? How do you organize that flow?
Well, really easy. A couple things. One is Google Alerts. So you can set up Google Alerts. Like I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, so Google Alert, Huntsville, Alabama real estate. So I get a daily email of anything that talks about Huntsville, Alabama real estate to my email box. I also do that for myself because you want to know when you show up in the news as well. Yeah. And then Wall Street Journal, CNBC, those type of articles.
Yeah, and so you're recording a video on what's going on in the news in that situation, or you're writing more of an email, text email?
Yes, all of those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
And this is ultimately generating more inbound, right? So it's more hand-rated, more call to actions, more triggers into the smart list to do, and content all at the same time.
You got it.
So, and I think when we were chatting too, I would love to hear, I know you've got people that are helping you with that as you're growing and stuff. How would you just start? If you're thinking, okay, I love the idea of this, would like to do some more content, what would you give somebody sitting out here that doesn't have staff or somebody that's just wanting to kind of start to just get it going?
Well, number one is we're all members of MLS. MLS sends you a market report. You pull out your phone, you read the stats. I mean, that's a very simple email, and then give your interpretation of what the stats are and what it means to buyers and sellers.
I love that.
And then just shoot it with your iPhone.
I love it. We have like 5 or 6 minutes, so I'd love to open it up because we kind of went quickly through everybody in different spots of what they're doing. If there's some questions on what they're doing for buyers and stuff, so
one in the front.
we have one right up here. So I'd love you guys to think through those questions, or we need to go a little bit deeper in an area. We'd love to get those out while we've got them on stage to answer those.
I think this one is for Justin. You're on the lost opportunity pond. So if your agent is speaking to someone and the buyer says they just bought a house or whatever, is there a specific tag that you put in there? So what is your, protocol for your agent so that you can actually pull that data into that list?
Yeah, so we have them switch it over the stage to contact, so that way rAIya isn't keep reaching out to them. And then we have a pond set up that is called Lost Opportunities, so then they would reassign that lead to the Lost Opportunities. But just to speak to something that was yesterday, said we're taking the opportunity to ask them, that's great that you found a house, where did you end up buying? And trying to figure out, putting them on a seller report. That's amazing. We have this great home equity report we send out once a month via email. Has some great data points that I think would be amazing for you. What's your address? I'll sign you up on that. And if it's not the case, we can always pull the data later. We'll put a tag in there for our ops manager to go back and find their address so we can put them on the report, because we already have their email and we already have their phone number, so we don't want to just leave it dormant. So
I think that's a huge one. I'm just curious. If you guys have somebody, let me know. But I'm curious because we see this all the time in the database, like, bought somewhere else or already bought, and I see that tag a lot. Who has a tag they put on leads that's like already bought or something like that? We're putting it on there all the time, and it'll be a scary, scary exercise, but go pull that up and see, did we even ask for an address? Or if we didn't ask for the address, did we even set them up on some sort of campaign for the area that we knew they were looking at, right? I mean, you turned a missed opportunity into a listing and then 2 more sites. So find that tag and look for those opportunities. I thought I saw somebody in the back there. And we can start with that quite easily. No? Yeah, right over
Yeah,
here.
there's one over here.
Just let us know if you can hit the mic runners, please. I know you can't.
These guys, by the way, these lights are bright. The job these guys are doing is just amazing being up here all day. So make sure you comment and thank them before you leave this week.
We'll have a good tan when we leave. All right.
Hey, Matt, what do you use for the newsletter? What software?
So you can use any email software provider. We've done ActiveCampaign, MailChimp.
Anybody else sending a newsletter similar to that as well to drip buyers out?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything in particular, or what are you guys using?
Yeah, we use MailChimp.
Okay. So you're bringing it outside the system. All right. We got one right over here. And
I just want to say Follow Up Boss is great for newsletters, mass email, very simple.
I like it
And
there because you get
you
the...
can create call lists based off of how many opens and all those kinds of things, just saying.
Got it. All right, right over here.
Hey, Matt Kimes, question. Can you clarify a little bit about the 1.5% that you mentioned at the end of what you were talking about? I didn't quite understand what you were saying with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a thing it's hard to quantify. Would they have converted otherwise, right? But what we're seeing is that we believe, okay, we're always looking for how do I convert a higher percentage, right? How do I increase my conversion rate? So what we're seeing is we think that we can add over 1% conversion rate to our existing incoming lead flow, right? Just because of rAIya Voice.
Because of the additional touch points and the knowledge behind rAIya Voice.
That's right. I mean, I would think of it more like this. We are not spending time chasing things that are less fruitful. And it's weeding out a lot more opportunity than we thought it would of who to go chase.
Love that.
Not really a question, but a tip. If you want to do a newsletter, use beefree.io, beefree.io. It goes right into your follow-up boss, and I send out newsletters. SendGrid, you can send out up to 10,000. I think it's 10,000 through SendGrid and follow-up boss. So,
Love that. Love it. Is there another one here? If not, I'd love, we got 2, was there one? Sorry. No, all right, 2 minutes. I'd love a parting thought, anything you guys have, something you've done that you've learned, maybe where you've misstepped that you've implemented and brought in, maybe a parting thought when it comes to just finding these buyers, converting, any tip that somebody can walk away with that they could implement or at least think about implementing.
Yeah, for me, just meet them where they're at. Text messages, emails. If they're texting you, don't call them. Text them. And that was the big thing for us this year, just seeing text messages coming through, responding, asking, being question-based. It's been working great.
I'll answer a different question. All right, how about this? I came here last year completely overwhelmed. There was a million things I wasn't doing. I made progress on a few of them and saw amazing changes, right? Progress, not perfection, is probably be my takeaway from this.
That's awesome.
Well, I love
That's
that.
huge.
Thank you.
How do I follow that? The one thing I'll say is I'm big on action plans and follow-ups.
I'm sorry.
And there's some great action plans that you guys have gotten from Gabe and from Barry, and I didn't get them backwards. But every area of the country is different, how we speak and how we communicate, and even our humor is different. I believe Dale mentioned rAIya or something about Philadelphia yesterday. So I wanted to say, take those and make them unique to your dialect, your tone. And then for me, adding humor in it, I'm going to try to be quick. We sent a text. I said, good afternoon, Robert. I'm going to be in Hobart this weekend hitting the links with the guys and wanted to invite you to a showing of your choice in the area. I'll be out that way Saturday and be happy to show you around. And then afterwards, maybe you can show us how it's done on the course. He responded with a phone call saying, man, I'm 68 years old. I don't golf anymore. I can't even get up and down my stairs. Any way you can help me find a place that doesn't have to require as much maintenance?
Love it. Love it.
There you go.
Love it. Yes. All right.
Now, I'm just going to follow up with, is Justin? No, Matt. No, I'm going to follow up with Matt. I mean, I feel technically so overwhelmed sometimes, but again, it's just taking those little pieces and just keep building and building and building on it, and go from there.
And I'm going to give some credit too. I mean, a lot of you, but like you're on office hours every single week and adding and learning and asking questions, and it's awesome.
And I get this much out of it, but I keep coming back because I need a little bit more.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I would say don't get intimidated if you just started. About 14 years ago, Howard Tager invited me to an event like this that literally changed my life. You know, I didn't have a team. I did everything. It was me, myself, and I. I was a janitor. I did accounting, I put signs out, you name it, I did it. But I went to an event like this, took the notes away, all the people that I met, all the smart people, created a business plan, and that is really what's propelled the success that I've seen today. So you took the first step. Second step is just creating that business plan and putting everything into action.
That's awesome. You created a blueprint for yourself. I love it. I love it.
Awesome, guys.
All right.
We're going to keep moving on. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.